Thank you. You may be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Rusty Richardson, and I have the pleasure of teaching some of the students that are going to be inducted today. But it's my pleasure to welcome you to Cumberland University and to help us honor these young scholars that we have with us today. I also want to take a moment to thank Mr. James Jordan, our university organist, for the excellent music on the piano today for the ceremony. And now we'll get underway. I'd like to introduce Dr. Mark Cheatham to introduce the people on the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about why it's important to recognize excellence in students, and then I think Dr. Grindstaff will introduce the platform party. So my wife and I were at the Cookeville McAllisters yesterday, and we just finished up eating, and a woman came up and said, "I thought that was Allie's dad," and then I looked and I saw Amber and knew it was. And so we spent some time talking. This was a woman who's the mother of some of our children's friends. And you might be thinking, is this a paid advertisement for McAllisters? What's the point? The point is that there were two levels of recognition that took place in that brief interaction. There was one level of recognition where someone saw my face and thought that they knew who I was. But then she saw my wife and knew that she knew who we were. What we're doing today is sort of like that, except we're not doing the first, that surface level, brief flicker of recognition you have when you think you know someone and you might remember their name. And when you're over 50 like I am, that happens more and more often. And those of you who are over 50 know what I'm talking about. If you're not over 50, you'll get there and you'll know. But we're really talking about that second level of recognition where this woman and my wife had a pre-existing relationship. They've spent a lot of time speaking, texting, setting up sleepovers and visits. They knew each other in a way that I did not know this woman with whom I'd had only brief interactions. What we're doing today is that second level of recognition where we are, as faculty, staff, and administrators of the university, recognizing, not briefly, not with a flicker, but with a deep recognition, the excellence of the students in front of us, because that is how we find meaning. Seeing someone's face that you might recognize, it gives you a little blip of familiarity, and then you move on with your life. But when you know someone deeply and you spend time with that person on a deep level, you have a different type of recognition. So what we want to do today as faculty, staff, and administrators is give students that level of recognition. And you all thankfully have shown up to help us share in that recognition of these excellent students in front of us. Now, Dr. Grindstaff.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure. I'd like to introduce the members of the institutional team. As I call your name, please stand. Dr. Paul Stum, University President. Dr. Bill McKee, Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs. Dr. Jenny Mason, Dean of the Oakley School of Humanities, Education, and the Arts. Dr. Lori Dishman, Executive Director of Institutional Effectiveness. Mr. Rusty Richardson, Executive Director of Community Relations and External Affairs. Dr. Mark Cheatham, Editor of the Martin Van Buren Presidential Papers Project and Professor of History. Ms. Lana Hale, Executive Assistant to the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs and Registrars. And I'm Dr. Jason Grindstaff, Interim Dean of the Rudy School of Nursing and Health Professions. Next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Jenny Mason to introduce the importance of scholarship.
That's all right. We got off the program a little bit. Did you notice that? I want to talk just a little bit about Alpha Lambda Delta for just a moment. And this is really both for the students who are going to be inducted today and for the families who are here honoring them. Alpha Lambda Delta was founded in 1924 at Purdue University. The purpose of the organization is to recognize academic excellence during the first year of the collegiate experience. The goal of Alpha Lambda Delta is to be an encourager so that as you continue moving through your collegiate experience, that you will keep your grades high and participate in the things that the university has to offer. Now, how do you get to be chosen for Alpha Lambda Delta? You either have one of two things. You make a 3.50 or higher in your first semester of college, or you make a 3.50 or higher in your combined first 2 semesters of college. Between 3 and 5% of the freshman students in the United States meet this criteria. So would you join me in congratulating these young men and women? Only institutions that meet Alpha Lambda Delta standards are allowed to have an Alpha Lambda Delta chapter. The first standard is you have to have quality students. The second standard is you have to have quality faculty. The third is you have to have a quality curriculum. And the fourth is that you have to have a quality library. So I mention these things to you because it's an honor that you're an Alpha Lambda Delta inductee today, but it's also an honor that Cumberland University is the kind of institution that Alpha Lambda Delta would have a chapter on its campus. Now we know that these young people did not get here by themselves. They got here because of a lot of love and encouragement, maybe some pushing and some pulling of faculty members to get them here today. So I would like to ask the families of these people to stand up, and I'd like to ask you to applaud them. So if you're a family member today, please stand up. And we thank each of you for being part of our service this afternoon. Thanking and recognizing is what Alpha Lambda Delta is about. So welcome to Cumberland and welcome to Alpha Lambda Delta.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Jenny Mason, Dean of the Oakley School, as I was introduced earlier. I'm supposed to speak on the importance of scholarship. I had a huge speech prepared, but I think you, as excellent students, have been in class a lot recently. So I'm going to shorten it here a little bit for you. Here is what I really want to say, though. Being invited into any honor society is really special, really memorable, and really important, okay? It's an incredible recognition. Being accepted into this particular one, Alpha Lambda Delta, the honor society you're joining today, displays just how ambitious and academically superior you are as first-year undergraduate students. That really matters. You're more than just hard workers, although you clearly probably work very hard, and you're not just exceptionally talented and intelligent, although I bet that's true too, but there's more. You possess a maturity and an understanding of the purpose behind higher education. That's what actually makes a true scholar. These are the kinds of students we want in our classes. Somebody who knows how to work hard, how to use their talents from the very first moment they're given an opportunity, but also they waste no time to display their excellence and their scholarship. There are hundreds, probably thousands, of examples of young adults who display what you do: intelligence, ambition, conscientiousness, integrity, work ethic. That one's really important. But the Alpha Lambda Delta piece is really, really important because it talks about you have academic achievement among first-year students from the moment you walk into higher education. That's a big deal. You promote a higher standing of learning to everyone else around you. So you have actually done what it takes to lift everyone else and to lift our entire institution from what it even was a moment ago. And third, you assist all the students around you in recognizing and developing their goals so that you have like a greater role in society one day. So superior achievement, high standards for yourself and others, and developing something meaningful for society. That's really why you're being recognized today. So yes, you're here because of academic scholarship, and that matters to us. It does. But what matters is that you hit the ground running, and that what matters is that you're gonna keep that pace. So we're really proud of you today. We're really proud of what you've achieved, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Good afternoon again. In a few moments, I'd like to introduce a member of the platform party to deliver the annual lecture. The Alpha Lambda Delta annual lecture is delivered by an individual that conducts themselves in accordance with the mission and values of this prestigious honor society. During this brief lecture, each of you in the audience will hear stories that teach valuable life lessons and how the challenges, adversities, and successes already experienced in your first year at Cumberland are the deposits that will eventually pay dividends in your personal and professional lives for years to come. Dr. Paul C. Stum has served Cumberland since 2003 and is in his 10th year as our 26th president. He is a graduate of the Navy War College Strategy and Policy Program and retired from the U.S. Navy Reserves with the rank of commander. He holds a BS degree from Auburn University, a master's and PhD from the University of Tennessee, and another master's from Cumberland University. President Stum not only supports the mission and values of this honor society, but he lives them as a proud member of Alpha Lambda Delta. At this time, please help me welcome to the podium Dr. Paul C. Stum.
Thank you all. It's a real privilege to be with you today. I want to begin by recognizing two others whom I saw in the audience earlier. I don't see them at this moment, but one of our three academic deans, I saw he's not on the stage, but Dean Jim Schulman, will you please stand wherever you are? I saw you out there somewhere. He left? Oh, he's to the left. There he is. Dean Schulman. Thank you. Let's recognize Dean Jim Schulman. And seated right by him is also our Associate Provost, Dr. Mark Hanshaw. Mark, would you please also stand and be recognized? I want to thank Dr. Grindstaff for that kind introduction, and I want to spend my few minutes with you today sharing three brief stories, as Dr. Grindstaff alluded to. And I want to ask each one of you at the conclusion of these three stories to help me think about the common denominator among these three stories. Now, I know that all of you are very smart, else you wouldn't be here, and so I know you know what a common denominator is. If you don't, please see Dr. Dishman afterwards. She can coach you on that. But I want you to help me think about the common denominator in these three. Story number one was on the L train. How many of you, by show of hands, have ever been on the L train or know what that is? A number of the parents, a few students, good. The L train is the subway system, euphemistically called the L train, the subway system in Chicago, Illinois, the great city of Chicago. And the L train is a great mass transit system in that great city. And years ago, a young man was on the L train with his three young children. And his children were about a little older than that one over there, who's liking this story, I can tell. But they were about ages 8, 6, and 4, somewhere in that range. They were young children, and they were somewhat rambunctious on an early Sunday morning. It was about 7 o'clock, 7:30 on Sunday morning. The train wasn't real crowded. But these three young kids were running around that car, having fun, playing, with a ball and enjoying themselves. And their father was sitting there with his hands on his chin, just looking at the floor, paying no attention to these three young, rambunctious children. And as the train proceeded down the tracks, they began to become a little more rambunctious. And they started throwing this ball further and down the car. And one time they hit off a man's knee. He kind of pretended to be indifferent to that, didn't really pay a lot of attention to him, but they increasingly started disturbing some of the other patrons on the train until finally one young man backed up, trying to catch the ball, and he stepped right on this elderly lady's foot while she was trying to read her paper. And she had had enough. And she stood up, and she went over to that man. He was clearly their father, although he was paying no attention to them. And she said, "Sir, sir," she said, "can you not control these unruly children?" And he slowly looked up from his gaze at the floor, and he said to her, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry." He said, "We've just come from the hospital where their mother just passed away. I apologize." And her whole perspective was changed instantly to one not of anger, but of trying to figure out how she could be of help to this young man who had just lost his wife and the mother of these 3 children. That's story number 1. Now story number 2. This story pertains to Al Capone. By show of hands, how many of you have heard of or know who Al Capone was? Okay, more of you, most of you, good. Well, then you'll know a little bit about his life perhaps, but I want to share some things that you may not know. Al Capone virtually owned the city of Chicago at one point. And he was famous, but not famous for anything heroic. He was famous for enmeshing the Windy City in everything from bootleg booze and prostitution to murder. Capone had a lawyer named Easy Eddie. At least that was his nickname. He was Capone's lawyer for a very good reason, because Eddie was very good. In fact, Eddie's legal skill at maneuvering kept Big Al out of jail for many years. To show his appreciation, Capone paid Easy Eddie very well. Not only was the money big, but Eddie got special dividends as well. For instance, he and his family occupied a fenced-in mansion which took up almost an entire city block in downtown Chicago. Eddie lived the high life of Chicago and gave little consideration to the atrocities that went on around him. Eddie did, however, have one soft spot in his heart. He had a son whom he loved dearly. Eddie saw to it that his young son had clothes, cars, a good reputation, a good education, and nothing was withheld. Price was no object. And despite his involvement in organized crime, Eddie even tried to teach his son the difference between right and wrong. Eddie wanted his son to be a better man than he. Yet with all his wealth and influence, there was one thing he could not give his son, and that was he couldn't pass on a good name. One day, Easy Eddie reached a difficult decision. He wanted to rectify the wrongs that he had done. He decided he would go to the authorities and tell them the truth about Al Scarface Capone. He wanted to clean up his tarnished name and offer his son some semblance of integrity. To do this, he would have to testify against the mob, and he knew that the cost would be great, but he testified anyway. Within a year, Easy Eddie's life ended in a blaze of gunfire on a lonely Chicago street. But in his eyes, he had given his son the greatest gift he had to offer at the greatest price he could ever pay. Police removed from his pockets a rosary, a crucifix, a religious medallion, and a poem clipped from a magazine. The poem read, quote, "The clock of life is wound but once, and no man has the power to tell just when the hands will stop, at late or early hour. Now is the only time you own. Live, love, and toil with a will. Place no faith in time, for the clock may soon be still." That's story number 2. We'll now move on to the third and final story. World War II produced many heroes. One such man was Lieutenant Commander Butch O'Hare. He was a fighter pilot assigned to the aircraft carrier Lexington in the South Pacific. Parenthetically, I would tell you that as a young ensign in the Navy, I got to go aboard the Lexington one time. Although it's been decommissioned for many years, it's a stately ship. One day, his entire squadron was sent on a mission. And after he was airborne, he looked at his fuel gauge and realized that someone had forgotten to top off his fuel tank. Now, parenthetically, I will also tell you, as a pilot, I would never leave in my plane without checking the fuel. It's one of the first things my flight instructor taught me to do years ago. And in fact, I went flying yesterday, and I checked the fuel in both tanks before I took off to go down to Gatlinburg. But I'll also tell you that I've never been a fighter pilot in a world war, and I recognize that the conditions there are certainly much different. But Butch quickly realized he would not have enough fuel to complete his mission and get back to the ship. His flight leader told him to return to the carrier. Reluctantly, he dropped out of formation and headed back to the fleet. As he was returning to the Lexington, he saw something that turned his blood cold. A squadron of Japanese aircraft were speeding toward the American fleet. The American fighters were gone on a sortie, and the fleet was all but defenseless. He couldn't reach his squadron and bring them back in time to save the fleet, nor could he warn the fleet of the approaching danger. There was only one thing to do. He must somehow divert these planes from the fleet. Laying aside all thoughts of personal safety, he dove into the formation of Japanese planes. Wing-mounted .50 caliber machine guns blazed as he charged in, attacking one surprised enemy airplane after another. Butch wove in and out of the now broken formation and fired at as many planes as possible until all of his ammunition was finally spent. Undaunted, he continued his assault. He dove at the planes, trying to clip a wing or a tail in hopes of damaging as many enemy planes as possible, rendering them unfit to fly. Finally, the exasperated Japanese squadron took off in a different direction. Deeply relieved, Butch O'Hare and his tattered fighter limped back to the carrier. Upon his arrival, he reported in and related the events surrounding his return. The film from the wing-mounted camera on his plane told the tale. It showed the extent of Butch's daring attempt to save the fleet. He had, in fact, destroyed 5 enemy aircraft. This took place just over 83 years ago, on February 20th, 1942. And for this action, Butch O'Hare became the Navy's first ace of World War II and the first naval aviator to win the Distinguished Medal of Honor. Less than a year later, Butch was killed in aerial combat at the age of 29. His hometown would not allow the memory of this World War II hero to fade, and today, O'Hare Airport in Chicago is named in tribute to the courage of this great man. So the next time you find yourself at O'Hare International Airport, perhaps after riding the L train, which goes directly into it, give some thought to visiting Butch O'Hare's memorial displaying his statue and his Medal of Honor. It's located between Terminals 1 and 2 in O'Hare Airport. By the way, these last 2 stories are related, for you see, Butch O'Hare was Easy Eddie's son. So what's the common denominator in these 3 stories? One, yes, they all occurred in Chicago, the Windy City, but what else? I would argue that the most significant common denominator in these 3 stories is that everything in life depends upon your perspective and your will to see and put the needs of others ahead of your own. The lady on the L train did that. Easy Eddie did that, as did his son, Butch O'Hare. We all have opportunities, I would argue, to do that each and every day of our lives. With our friends, with our classmates, our roommates, our teammates, our faculty, our neighbors, our family, or even just someone we meet on the street. Our recently retired university chaplain, Dr. Mike Ripsky, was fond of saying that every student has a story. Some of our students are first-generation college students. Many of our students come from single-family homes, single-parent homes. Some have struggled with abuse or addiction. Some have financial challenges, health issues, academic struggles, particularly in certain subjects such as mathematics. I'm certain nobody in here has that, but certain students do. Issues with self-esteem or insecurity or depression, or the list goes on and on. All of us here today have our own stories and backgrounds, and all of us have opportunities every day to see or not to see, and to put or not to put the needs of others ahead of our own. I congratulate each one of you on your hard work to date, which has brought you to this place and earned you the right to be inducted into this prestigious honor society, Alpha Lambda Delta. I encourage you not only to keep up that hard work that got you here, but also to stay alert along the way and look for opportunities to assist others who might be able to benefit from your academic acumen, from your insights, your friendship, or maybe just a random act of kindness. For you see, each one of you has been blessed with a God-given set of abilities that exceeds that of lesser scholars. Else you wouldn't be here today being inducted into Alpha Lambda Delta. So upon each one of you has been placed the onus of a greater responsibility to help others who don't possess those same attributes and abilities. In closing, I want to share two final thoughts with you. One is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, quote, "The most urgent and pressing question is always, what are you doing for others?" And the second is a quote from Ms. Mary Hughes Slaughter Rose. Anybody know who Mary Hughes Slaughter Rose was? Well, you probably wouldn't. I called her Mamie. She was my maternal grandmother. Mary Hughes Slaughter Rose died at age 101 in 2006. And my maternal grandmother used to say, there are four things that you can do with your hands. You can clench them in anger, you can wring them in despair, you can fold them in idleness, or you can extend them to help others. My hope and admonition for each one of you here today is that you will answer the question posed by Dr. King and choose Mamie's option number 4. Extend both your hands and your heart to help others at every opportunity you get. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stum. And now we'll begin the official induction ceremony. Alpha Lambda Delta is a national society for freshmen which honors high academic achievement in the first year of college. The purpose of the organization, as stated in the Constitution, is to encourage superior academic achievement among students in their first year in institutions of higher education, to promote intelligent living and a continued high standard of learning, and to assist students in recognizing and developing meaningful goals for their roles in society. Alpha Lambda Delta was founded as an honor society in 1924 at the University of Illinois by the Dean of Women, Mariah Leonard. It soon became a national organization as chapters were established at Purdue University in 1926 and at DePaul University in 1927. Growth of the society has continued until now there are 280 chapters. These candidates who are now presented for initiation have attained the high standard required by National Alpha Lambda Delta and are worthy to be recognized by both their college and this organization for their notable achievement in scholarship. Alpha Lambda Delta, I have the honor to present to you these candidates for initiation into National Alpha Lambda Delta.
To the members of Alpha Lambda Delta, we are here to inform the new initiates concerning our organization and to ask them to take with us the pledge to make the best possible use of our education. The initials of our name stand for the Greek words Alaloi Labapedia Dia Desusen, which stands for the motto, we shall pass our torches on, one to another. The insignia of Alpha Lambda Delta represents a lighted candle. The golden base of our candle signifies honesty and integrity, which are the foundation on which we build. The shaft of our candle signifies truth and wisdom, which can dispel ignorance and superstition and give us the insight to live well in our time.
As Ms. Hale lights the candles, I'll share with you very briefly what each candle means. The red represents the burning flame of knowledge. The white represents the search for truth. The gold represents the strong base of honor. These, our three colors, symbolize the standards held by members of Alpha Lambda Delta.
Honorees, your education is the means by which you learn to recognize the wonders of science, to appreciate the beauty of great literature and art, to use well our own language, to learn the lessons of history, to speak and read the languages of other peoples, to study the social and political forces of our world, and to discuss the thought and the philosophy of other ages. Through these means, you can evaluate the forces and standards of your generation and learn to live significantly.
Scholars, please stand and repeat after me. I accept membership in National Alpha Lambda Delta. With the understanding that in order to do so, I accept the responsibility, continuing to maintain its standards of service, of industry, of integrity, and of giving support to the recognition and development of meaningful goals for students. I shall endeavor to maintain high scholarship and to use my education for the benefit of my community, my nation, and the world in which we live. You may be seated.
To the new members, as I call your names, will you please come forward and receive your membership certificate, lapel pin, and candle. Once you've received those items, please return to your seat. You will come up the steps on my right, your left, and then leave the stage from my left, your right. Now for the new initiates, as I call their name. Marley Marie Bailiff. Haley Elizabeth Baker. Ashley Kai Bankston. Kylie Lauren Brooke Benz. Bless Ann Rhoda Burnaby. Caleb Anthony Boble. Dawson L. Cannon. J.C. Page Carver. Harry Cagle. Shelby Faith Chastain. Samir Abdur Rahman Chaudhuri. Logan Luis Chudzik. Lillian Faith Conrad. Christopher Allen Cooley. Madison Jolynn Darling. Candace LaRae Dedrick. Caleb Grant Deems. Charlie Elizabeth Dick. Sarah Elizabeth Elgin. Kel Ann Fisher. Joseph Caleb Folsom. Abigail Stokes Foster. Addison Elizabeth Freeman. Esmeralda Fuentes. Jada Libel Graces. Alyssa Lynn Greeley. Ryan Christopher Harlan. Vivian Ray Harris. Zoe Lena Harris. Jocelyn Violet Horning. Bouchard Luke Hutchinson. Luke Allen Irby. Ember Michelle Keeley. Rachel Claire Kellogg. Camden Rose Lackey. Madison Brooke Lancaster. Ninying Phelan Lee. Alexander Hackett Linville. Landon James Locke. Madison Haley Loftus. KK Josefa Lamapu. Madison Leanne Loma. Mary Jane Jocelyn Martinez. Kaylee Elizabeth McFarland. Lauren Elaine McGee. James Patrick McNetch. J. Pedro Mueller Pereira. Navahi Marie Nichols. Charlotte Rose Payne. Allie Reese Price. Dakota Coy Rains. Selena Maria Ramirez. Abdallah Muhammad Rushdie. Alexa Noel Rumpf. Daniel Scherf. Anna Jo Schnicke. Kathleen Ann Schroer. Emily Lynn Sievers. Andrew Joshua Smith. Caitlin J. Smith. Haley Madison Smoot. Morgan Bruce Stearman. Kylie Elise Taylor. Noah Blaine Taylor Megeha. Katie June Thomas. Lily Catherine Turner. Kayla J. Urell. Sienna Lynn Van Avery. Addison Elizabeth Van Winkle. Ashley Kate Welburn. Robert Jacob Wilson. Alexandria Lynn Whitlock. Daniel Wu. Faith Ajane Wright. Okay. I'd now like to call Dr. McKee back to the podium. Okay. I'm sorry, we have 3 names still to call. Okay. Thank you. Venus Jacqueline Ballard. September Patrice Greer. And Kaylon Moore. Okay, and William Craig Hall II. And now it's my pleasure to bring Dr. McKee back to the podium.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that Dr. Schulman and Dr. Hanshaw join us, please, on the podium. From time to time, people are given honorary memberships in Alpha Lambda Delta, and it's based on the contributions that they make to the institution. And we're honored this year to have 2 honors causeus inductees to Alpha Lambda Delta. And let me tell you a little bit about both of them. Dr. Mark Hanshaw is the Associate Provost and the General Counsel for the university. His PhD degree is from Southern Methodist University. He has a Juris Doctorate from the University of Tennessee and a Master of Laws from the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom. He has previously served as Dean of Arts and Lectures at Texas Wesleyan University, and he has been highly involved in international education both in this country and abroad. He was a Hayes Fulbright Scholar in the nation of India. So would you welcome Dr. Hanshaw as an honors causeus member? The second is Dr. James Schulman. Dr. Schulman is the interim dean of the Rudy School at Cumberland University. He has a BA from Vanderbilt University and a Juris Doctorate from Vanderbilt. He has served in elective office. He was vice mayor of the metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County. He was an at-large council member and a district council member. He was the chief of staff for the leader of the House of Representatives of the Tennessee General Assembly. He was deputy director of the Department of Health and executive director of the Council on Aging. In addition to being our interim dean, he is also the head of our political science department. Would you welcome Dr. Jim Schulman as an honors causeus member? I will ask the inductees to please stand for the lighting of the candle.
Okay, on behalf of Cumberland University, I wish to express our pride in your achievement and our congratulations to you. May you find in the years ahead the rewards of the educated person: imagination, adventure, humor, compassion, and understanding. May you have tolerance in your dealing with all persons, generosity in giving those in need, and insight into the feelings of others. In relating your education to the world in which you live, you can make a meaningful contribution to society. Welcome to the Honor Society. And now for the prayer and blessing about scholarship from Dr. Paul Stum, our president.
Would you please rise for the benediction? And at the conclusion of our benediction today, we will be adjourned. There is no recessional, but again, let me congratulate each one of you, and you'll have time with your students and your family as soon as the benediction is over. Please bow with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for these young men and women who stand before me today. We thank you for their families, the mothers and fathers and grandparents and aunts and uncles and siblings and friends who are here to celebrate this accomplishment with them today. We thank you for the scholarship that you have imbued in these students. We thank you for the skills that they've demonstrated to date to earn their way into this prestigious honor society, and we ask, Heavenly Father, that you continue to put that sense of scholarship upon their hearts and upon their minds. Help them continue to achieve the many things that you know they can, even if they don't yet understand those things or what they are. We finally, Father, ask you to help each one of them and each one of us to look for opportunities to help one another and to do good on this planet. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. You can blow out your candles. Where are you going to dismiss us?
And let me say that the induction team will be here if people want to take pictures after the ceremony is over. And thank you all for being here. You are dismissed.
KK and Jaden, we have your shingles now if you want to come back up.